Hello, my name is Miss Ashley from Fibo Kids Art Academy, and welcome to another amazing art class. Today we are going to be learning about Missouri, located in the Midwest region of the United States. Missouri is mostly flat prairie with fertile soil, rivers, and streams. The weather is hot and humid in the summers and cold and snowy in the winters. The state bird is the eastern bluebird, the state flower is the hawthorn, and the state animal is the mule. One famous landmark is the Gateway Arch in St. Louis. It is the tallest man-made monument in the U.S., standing at 630 feet tall. Today, we're going to be drawing the Gateway Arch. For a list of supplies, be sure to check the description of this video. Let's go ahead and get started. So here is the Gateway Arch right here. We'll be drawing that, but you can choose what kind of sky that you would like. I'm just going to go ahead and put that aside so we can get ready for our practice draw. Make sure you are using that pencil for our practice draw, but I'll be using a Sharpie so you can see my lines. Make sure your paper is vertical, which means up and down. And close to the bottom of the paper, we need to draw two straight lines. One and two. Make sure they're about an inch apart from each other. And then we're going to draw two straight lines on each side. Try to make sure that they're pretty evenly spaced apart. If you do need a ruler, you can go ahead and grab that. And then I'm going to draw a slanted line and another slanted line. And I'll do the same thing on the right side. Slanted line and another slanted line. Now this arch is really, really tall, and sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to make sure that those lines are perfectly even. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw two dots. And starting on the left, I'm going to curve this line down, being sure that I'm extra careful as I go to the bottom. I'll do the same thing on the right side. Take your time with that arch. There's no need to rush. Just make sure that they are evenly spaced apart on each side. And I'm going to do that same thing to the top. By bringing that line down, taking my time. And same on the right side. Remember, do use a pencil because you cannot erase Sharpie. And there is our arch, and we're actually done with our practice draw. So let's go ahead and put that to the side, and we'll get started on our final draw. We're going to be doing those same steps again, only this time we're going to be adding a little bit more details. Make sure you are using that pencil though. I'm using a Sharpie so you can see my lines. Let's go ahead, make sure our paper is vertical, which means up and down, and we'll draw those two straight lines. All right. Next, we're going to draw two straight lines, making sure they're even on both sides. And then we'll draw that slanted line. Now we are going to be adding just a little bit more to our picture. So we're actually going to draw another slanted line on the left and one on the right. Now we are going to also draw some pillars by just drawing some simple rectangles, making sure they're even on both sides. Now you will have to be doing some erasing. So once you are done drawing those rectangles, make sure to eyeball it as close as you can and see if there's any of those lines you need to erase. So for example, I need to erase a little bit on those first two and the last two. Be because I'm now going to draw my arch by adding those 2 dots first so I know where to start and where to finish. I'm just going to go ahead and draw that curved line, making sure I'm taking my time. Do the same thing on the right side. Now, if it's sometimes a little bit tricky to draw that arch, you can always pause the video and try again. Do the same thing to the top of the arch. And the bottom as well. All right, add a little bit more. We're going to add a curved line in between that arch. And now we're going to add a flagpole. So in between that space here, we're going to draw a rectangle. And then we're going to draw 2 lines, making sure that they're as straight as can be. So if you do need to grab a ruler, you can go ahead and grab that ruler. You can kind of see that mine is bulging just a little bit there. So definitely use a ruler for that. Then I'm going to add a circle on the top because this is going to be my flagpole. Then I'm going to add a slightly curved line for the side of my flag. Wavy line going down. And I'll follow that wave so it's parallel from each other and then connect with a straight line. Now definitely check to see if you have any of those lines inside of your flagpole. If you need to go ahead and erase those, you can. That was our final step for our final draw. So if there is anything else that you'd like to add, maybe you want to add like an airplane, or maybe you want a crowd of people, you can go ahead and add that, but I'm just going to leave my picture like this. So when you are done, it should look something like this. So here's my picture drawn in pencil. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take out my colored pencils because we're now going to be moving on to coloring. All right, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to be coloring my arch. Now, depending on what color of sky that you would like, depends on the line you're going to create along the sides right there. My sky, I can show you earlier, is kind of starting to become a sunset. So you can see up here that it is blue. So therefore, along this edge, I'm going to be using a blue colored pencil. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab my dark blue. And I'm just going to outline my arch. Only on the top line though, I'm not going to do that on the bottom. But I'm first just going to outline in blue. And same on this side. Now colored pencils can be a little bit tricky, but sometimes I find that it helps to turn that paper around if you are coloring those areas. So I'm just going to take my blue and I'm just very softly going to go along the outside of my arch, or excuse me, staying inside my arch, but being close to the higher line. I'm just very softly coloring the side of my arch. And I'm only doing this on the outer side, not closer to the flagpole. And I'm just going over, making sure that area is a nice blue color. Again, if your sky is maybe a lighter blue, use a light blue. If it's maybe a purple, use purple instead. Now you can see that I'm turning my paper around. This way it is a little bit easier to color along those sides. All right. Now I'm going to be switching to my darker gray. So I've got some grays right here. I'm going to go ahead and grab this one here. And I'm just going to go over, and it looks like I need to sharpen my pencil a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and sharpen that. Because I find that it's easier to color if there is a lot of it sharpened, so I can use more of the side of it instead of having more of the wood. I'm just going to go ahead and take my colored pencil, and I'm actually going to go over my blue with that gray color, just so it blends really nicely. And you can see that I'm not filling in that entire arch quite yet. I do want those colors to blend nicely together. Again, if you need to turn your paper one way so you can color it back and forth, I highly recommend that. It's a little bit easier on the hands. All right. So again, just keep coloring. Now, if you don't have a different shade of gray, maybe like a lighter gray or a blue gray, you can go ahead and fill in the rest of that arch. I have this bluish gray that I'm going to use for the rest of my arch. And I'm going to color right on top of the rest of my colors so it has this nice blended effect. Now I am going to sharpen that pencil just a little bit and get on the sides and color. And again, make sure you are going back and forth, really filling in those areas. If you do need to press a little bit harder, you can, just so it is blended a little bit more. Again, I'm going to turn that. And get close and blend. Make sure you don't have any white spots whatsoever on your arch. Get as close as you can to those pencil lines. You can go right over those pencil lines to blend it even more. But really make sure you are taking care of that arch and making sure there's no white spots whatsoever. All right. We're actually going to be doing the same thing to our flagpole. So I'm going to go ahead and take that blue again. And this time I'm only going to be doing that on the left side. So I'm going to take my blue, just go down the side, left side of my flagpole. Now fill this part in right here. You might want to just go back over, make it a little bit thicker. Then I'm going to go ahead and take one of my grays. I'm going to use my bluish gray here instead and fill in the rest of my flagpole. And it's helpful to go right over that blue too, so the colored pencils can really blend with each other. Just make sure you don't have any white spots. All right, so there's that. And then we'll go ahead and start with that American flag. Now you have the choice of either doing Missouri state flag or the American flag. I'm just going to go for the American flag today by taking my blue pencil, and I'm going to make sure to follow along with the movement of my flag. So here, I'm just going to fill that in completely blue. I'm pressing fairly hard just to make sure I really get that color in. And it is also a small area. Then I'm going to take my red and add those stripes. And remember, the American flag has red and white stripes. So I'm going to make sure to skip each one. I'm just going back and forth. Now, if you don't have exactly 13 stripes on that flag, that's okay. But if you want to make sure that there's 13, you can go ahead and make sure that there are. But today I'm just making a simplified American flag. All right, and there is my flag. I'm going to be taking my light blue next, and I'm just going to fill in this area down here. It's my light blue. I'm just very carefully filling that in. And I'm also going to take that same blue and make the sides just a little bit darker. That way we've got some nice shading in our picture. All right, the next color that we're going to be taking is brown. And whatever we're doing on the left side, we're also doing on the right side. So I'm taking my brown and filling this area brown. And it looks like I do need to sharpen it a little bit. So I'll take that, sharpen it. And I'm going to fill this area brown. So even though we are going to be covering some of this area with oil pastel later, still make sure to go over and get all those white spots on the left and the right. And if you need to turn your paper in one direction to fill it in, you can go ahead and do that. But I'm just going to make sure to fill this with my brown. All right. Now I'm going to go along here and add that same brown just to that bottom line right there. On both the left and the right side. Because now I'm going to be taking a little bit of a lighter brown, and I'm just going to go over this area, making sure to avoid those rectangles. I'm just taking that lighter brown and filling that in. And now I'm going to be taking my orange and filling in that area again. I'm just being extra careful, just being nice and soft, making sure I'm getting that color around on both the left and the right side. All right, we're now going to go ahead and fill in that grass. We're first going to be using a lighter green to color the top part of our grass. And if you need to press a little bit harder for that green to show up, you can go ahead and do that. But make sure to try first to press lightly and just go back over and add those layers of color. So there's the top part of my grass. I'm going to go ahead and switch to a darker green. It's okay to blend that darker green on top of the lighter green as well, just so you get that nice gradient. Just try your best to avoid those rectangles as much as possible though. It looks like I also need to sharpen this green. All right, and again, you can always take that green and blend it onto the lighter green or the yellow green, whatever green that you used on top. Then I'm going to take my green, make sure to sharpen it first, and finish off the rest. All right, so still just finishing up the rest of that, and then we'll continue on with our colored pencils. All right, so there is that. If you want to go over, just to make sure that you don't have any white spots, you can take any shade of green. I like to take the little bit darker, not too dark though, and just go over and blend, just to make sure that I don't have any white spots whatsoever. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be grabbing our purple, and we're going to be filling in those rectangles. So I'm going to just fill in those rectangles. And if you need to sharpen your pencil, you can go ahead and do so. I'll just take my purple. I'm going to outline those rectangles first and then fill in. So outline and fill it in. Outline and fill it in. Outline and fill it in. If you are done outlining and filling in those rectangles, don't put that purple away quite yet, because we're going to still use, or whatever color that you are using. Because you could use a darker gray or maybe a dark blue. I think purple looks really nice though. All right. Now we're going to add some shading. So if our light source is roughly right here, we need to make sure that our shadows are going one way on the left side and a different way on the right side. Also with the flagpole, that shadow is right down the middle. So first I'm just going to take my purple and then add that shadow. And then I like to just draw those slanted lines so I know that my shadows are going this way and opposite this way. And then I'll go over and make them a little bit thicker. And I'm not pressing too hard because I am going to be going over this area with kind of this pinkish rose color. So I'm just making sure that I do have that shadow right there. And if you need to turn your paper one way so it's easier to color, you can go ahead and do that like I am with my shadows here. So there are my shadows. You want to press a little bit harder so you can really see those shadows, or just go back over again. You can do that. All right. I'm going to be using this rose color, or what this pencil is called light violet. And I'm just going to go over and I'm just going to very softly add that pinkish color. And if you need to sharpen like I do, take that moment. I'm just going to go over, and it's okay if I'm going right over my shadows as well. That really helps to make it blend together. Just make sure you are getting every single spot on this ground. All right, finish the left side. Always go over and add some more layers of color. And almost done on this side. Make sure that you are going over, taking care of those white spot areas. So right here I can add just a little bit more so it's a nice even color. There we go. All right. If you need to go back over and make those shadows a little bit darker, you can. I think I'm going to do that as well. I'm just going to go back over, make them a little bit darker. But this is our final step with our colored pencils. If there's anything else that you would like to add, you can go ahead and do so with colored pencils. But I'm going to go ahead and put my colored pencils aside. And I am going to now take out my chalk pastels. Now again, your sky can be any color that you would like for it to be. I'm going to be going from blue to light blue to orange to yellow. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking my blue and I'm just going to pinch and pull only on the top. Then I'm going to put that back and I'll softly blend. I'm getting as close as I can to the edge of my paper so I don't have any white spots. And if you have a lot of dust, don't forget to tap it on your table. For the light blue, I'm going to go to about roughly here. And I'm going to pinch and pull. All right, and be careful as you go around your flag. You don't want to get any color on it. And I'm just going to make sure that that light blue blends with my blue above. And if you do get some chalk pastel onto your arch, that's okay because it is reflective, so it can be that same color as the sky. But do be careful as you go as close as you can to your flagpole and the flag. You don't get any of that chalk pastel on it. All right, so there's that. I'm going to be taking my orange next. And I'm going to get just a little bit around here. And again, you can use whatever color you want for your sky. And then I'm going to blend. Now if you have a lot of that chalk dust, you can easily just take an eraser and erase some of it off. So my orange turned a little bit too orange for my liking. So I'm just taking my eraser and taking some of that orange right off. Just make sure that you do brush off those eraser shavings onto your table. And then the rest I'm going to be using yellow. I'm going to take that yellow right over the orange as well. Put my yellow back and I'll blend. So that way it has this nice glowy sunset look. If you find maybe that it's a little bit too bright down there, add some more light blue above. So I'm just going to take some light blue just to make it a little bit darker. And then I'll blend. Alright, and once you're done with that, making sure that you've blended everything that you possibly can, take that paper and tap it onto your table, because we're actually going to be doing some erasing. What I like to do is I like to take my eraser and just go back and forth and make some long lines to create some clouds. And you can just do simple lines. You can make those clouds really big. That's up to you. I'm just going to go ahead, take my eraser, and erase some clouds into my picture. And I'm using my pink eraser just because it's a little bit easier to hold and picks up a lot more of that color. And this is an optional step. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. I just find that it makes the sky look a little bit more interesting. But if you have maybe a night sky, you can draw some stars or erase those stars out. I can also erase some clouds down here. Again, those clouds can be as big as you want or as small. You can have some simple lines, so they're like stratus clouds. You can have big ones like cumulonimbus. It's up to you. All right. Our last step that we need to do is we're actually going to be putting away our chalk pastels and taking out our oil pastels because we're going to be adding some trees. Now I want mine to look kind of like it's autumn, but you can make yours a little bit more summery, like with green leaves. But I'm just going to take my brown first and draw some branches and a trunk. And it doesn't have to be exactly even on both sides. I'm just taking that brown, extending those branches. All right. And then I'm just going to go take some different warm colors and create some dots on those branches so they look like leaves. And you can just scribble, scrabble back and forth. You don't need to be accurate and even because we're just going to be building up more of those colors on those branches. So we might not even see some of those branches by the time that we're done adding those leaves. So right now I'm using orange and just adding those leaves. Make sure you are using a variety of colors, especially if it is an autumn scene. You do want to use all sorts of different shades of orange and reds and yellows, and maybe even some yellow greens. But if it's more of a summer tree, I'd use greens and yellow greens. If it's spring, you can use green as well. So I'm just going to take my red, add some red dots around here. scribble back and forth. I'm going to also take my forest green or yellow green and just add some of that as well. So now as I'm adding more of those leaves, it's starting to look a lot more like a tree. Just make sure that you do have more of those leaves instead of the branches. I'm going to grab some yellow green as well. And it's okay if you blend that oil pastel right over on top of other colors. That way it creates a nice mixture of all sorts of different colors and makes your picture look a little bit more interesting and unique. Also, you can take that brown, you can pinch and pull a little bit below the tree so it looks like dirt. And that is it for our drawing of the gateway arch. If you want to build up some more of those clouds, you can. Maybe if you want to draw in some more people with a colored pencil by just drawing some simple silhouettes. Remember, it's a very, very tall arch. Those people would be very, very small. But overall, this is our picture of the gateway arch. So don't forget to clean up your area and clean your hands, especially because we did use a lot of chalk pastel. Clean your hands and clean your table as well because you worked so hard on your picture, especially with that chalk pastel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had a lot of fun learning about Missouri and the Gateway Arch in St. Louis. Please post your pictures online. We would love to see them. And we will see you next time. Bye.